Zyn Rewards keeps getting better. Exciting new collections, premium fan-favorite items, and special events to help you live large. Just enjoy Zyn, collect points, and earn rewards at Zyn.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
It's like a dream come true.
Reese is all over.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio, right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
You know what that means. Holla, holla, and pop your collar. It's time for plenty of news and plenty of views. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. And I've got so much stuff in this pile of stuff. I don't know if we're going to get to it. We never seem to. I just load all this stuff up. I start preparing hours and hours, and then I get here and I got stuff still sitting I never get to. So I'll try to get to everything today, and of course, plus your phone calls at 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Let me begin by apologizing. I did something so boneheaded yesterday. 2 people, I copied their telephone numbers down. I put it on something that I did not save and then closed the computer and lost them both. So now I got to go back and find out who those individuals are. One of them being Evan, who I'm supposed to have the conversation about the big, beautiful bill, lost his number. So I completely screwed that up. So, Evan, if you are watching, please call back or find a way to get me your telephone number. Contact me on Facebook.
I got it.
You got it. Okay, you have Evan's number. Do you have the other guy's number?
I don't remember who it was.
Okay, I don't remember who that was either. So I'll look him up. So you have Evan's. Good. That's half of the problem out of the way. But I want to apologize to both of them because I screwed up and I went and turned off the computer and then realized afterwards I did not save them. It was boneheaded. I was quick. I was trying to do something else, and I got overwhelmed. I don't want to say overwhelmed. I just got caught up in too much stuff. Sometimes I could do that. So I'm glad I got part of that out of the way. I'll check and find out who the other gentleman's telephone number is, so then I can ask him to call back and get me that number as well. Also, I don't feel good about doing this because I don't like when the news cycle is the driving force of this show. What I mean by that is I've been in trouble about this with program directors, hosts of shows, as a writer and the content guy in radio. I have gotten into trouble going after the story I know it's important, that's important, instead of going after the red meat and the low-hanging fruit. And I've had to go through this with people who are my bosses all the time, and I say, no, I know you want to go into that, but trust me, this is more important. And I've always been right. Always. Why? I'm a fan of this, not just a person who's in it. But I'm only dealing with it because for some odd reason, you guys can't let it go. And we'll talk about it. It's the Epstein debacle. We'll get into it. I will get to the bottom of this and explain to you why this is so relevant. And the sad part is that it's so sad. It's got nothing to do with Epstein. It does. It has nothing. Every person who's talked about it, even people I respect, it has nothing to do with Epstein. And God forbid it's got nothing to do with the victims. It does. It's sad. That's the reason why I've ignored it. Because I know what it's about. It's about egos. It's about people wanting to protect their own reputations. It has nothing to do. No one is noble in all of this. And that's why I know, and that's why I avoid it. Because then I get into this fray where I have to have a conversation about blah, blah, blah. It isn't. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. But I'm saving that for later. So stick around for it. Maybe at around 4 o'clock hour. We'll get into it. Also, I got the stupidest thing I read today. Boy, you folks at Deep and the EPA. Does one hand know what the other hand's doing? Do you know how stupid today is in your camp? Boy, when we get to that point, stand by for that. This is funny. My opening monologue is get ready, Connecticut. You are in for a roller coaster. So get ready to ride. It was I who told you that the New York mayoral race was going to affect Connecticut directly. And it has. I believe that it has given momentum to the likes of liberals and far-left types to jump into the race, to come out of hiding. Representative John Elliott, perfect example. Right now, we've got John Larson, Joe Courtney, Rosa DeLauro. They are all at risk of losing their seats because of progressives who are now, they feel emboldened. They are so emboldened by the idea of Mondami. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that Democrats are ready for radical socialism? Oh, man, we better strike while the iron is hot. And that's where we are today. It's clearly where we are today. It's funny because I'm reading all of these articles that they're not shy about pointing out the momentum of Mamdani and how it's pushing other Democrats or far-left progressive, socialists, communists, what the hell, how it's pushing them to come out of the weeds, to be louder voices. So I've got a couple of articles here I want to go through. I don't have to read them. Just going to grab some pull quotes. You can read them yourself to see if what I'm saying is actually the truth. They all contradict each other, by the way, but I find it very funny that they all have the same theme. Let's start with the Connecticut Insider at random. I'm just going to pull any one of them. The Connecticut Insider's headline reads, Connecticut pushes businesses away. Now, this opinion is written by the Republican American editorial board. And in its article, it talks about how, of course, businesses are leaving, but where they're going. This is one pull quote. Looking into census data, Hearst Media found that in 2023, southern states contain 9 of the 12 metropolitan areas where the number of people relocating from Connecticut for jobs in those areas exceeded by at least 100 in the number of people moving to those areas for positions in Connecticut. For the first time, 6 fast-growing states in the South, Florida, Texas, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, are contributing more to the national GDP than the Northeast, with its Washington, New York, Boston corridor, in government figures going back to the 1990s. Bloomberg reported in 2023 the switch happened during the pandemic and shows no signs of reverting. It goes on to say that in a 2023 article, the Hartford-based Yankee Institute, a free market think tank, listed a who's who of major businesses that had moved their headquarters out of Connecticut in recent years. They included Lego, General Electric, United Technologies, Edible Arrangements, gun manufacturer Stag Arms, and Alexion Pharmaceuticals. But only Edible Arrangements moved to South Georgia. The most popular relocation site was Massachusetts. That even when businesses chose to remain in high-tax Northeast areas. Connecticut is seen as a poor option. General Electric, one of the businesses to move to Boston, noted its displeasure with legislative tax policies in Connecticut, according to the Yankee Institute. They go on to say, again, in all of this, last week news broke that Representative Josh Elliott filed to challenge Governor Lamont in the 2026 primary, should the governor choose to run for another term. Elliott said that he has thought for years about challenging Lamont, who represents a more conservative portion of the state party at a time that seems to be drifting away from the needs of most state residents. Again, that's from the Connecticut Insider, from the Republican American editorial board. Now let's go to HartfordBusiness.com. This written by Greg Bordenaro. Am I reading that right? Bordenaro. Connecticut should cheer on New York City Socialist Democrat mayoral candidate. From afar. From afar. That's what they wrote. In this article, it goes to say that Mamdani ran on a populist platform promising lower New York City high cost of living to make a life easier for residents of all income levels. His policies to lower costs include freezing rents and stabilizing apartments, offering free bus fare and childcare, investing $70 billion in publicly subsidized housing, and launching city-owned grocery stores. Pull quotes. Do I agree with these policies? Absolutely not. He writes, a Mamdani administration will likely drive more business and wealthy residents out of New York City. What better landing spot than neighboring Connecticut, which has consistently poached New Yorkers over the past decade? Did you read that? Did you hear that correctly? That's right. So while businesses are leaving Connecticut and are sure to do so if Elliott gets his way, here's another person writing, hey, that's what'll happen. All those New York folks will come right to Connecticut, another high tax area, another high tax state, to pay for a state that can barely get people out of poverty. That's their mission. They believe that this is going to work, which is why I said at the beginning, get ready, Connecticut. The roller coaster is coming. Mamdani is certainly going to win in New York, without a doubt. I don't see it. I don't see Andrew Cuomo unless a coup of some sort takes place, like they find some real dirt on Mamdani. I mean, they better catch him like doing something. It's a lot of stuff that they've caught him doing already. But they're going to have to find some dirt of the dirty dirt on this guy. I mean, this guy's got to be shaking hands with Osama bin Laden. I mean, I'm not kidding. If there's something out there that will get this guy done, outside of that, I think New York has made up his mind. There was a breakfast today in D.C., and did you see it? Did you watch it on the news? How many people were going in there to go kiss the ring, to go show their support? It wasn't just the radical squad of Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who hosted the event. There were other ones that considered themselves moderates, that would never align themselves with socialists, even though they are. But here's what I've noticed, folks. This Mamdani thing, and why this is so important to recognize. I want you to think about this and go online and you'll see the reports. You'll see the headlines. The biggest story about Mamdani today was about him changing his position on the term globalize the intifada. That was the story. And talking to Democrats who have been on the fence about Mamdani have been saying the reason why they are on the fence about him is because he may be toxic to Jewish voters in New York. I want you to take that into consideration while also considering this. They're not addressing any of his socialism. Not one of them is having a discussion about their apprehension about his socialist plans for New York. The only thing they're concerned about are Jewish votes, not about policy, not about what he plans on doing in New York and to New York, to the wealthiest, to the taxpayers. No one is talking about that. The focus has been on globalize the intifada as if it's the most important thing in his campaign, not about the damage he's going to do, which again is giving license to guys like Elliott, which is giving license to people like AOC to say, socialism, have at it. Keep running those campaigns. We'll distract them with the silliness. Because that's indeed what they're doing, folks. Higher taxes. Josh Elliott, higher taxes. Right? That's his biggest problem with Lamont. Not willing to raise taxes enough. It's the biggest issue. That's it. Bottom line. Like it or not. Folks, we are at that point. 2026, 2028, that's what it's about. I think somebody wrote an article and says, are we going Marxist or MAGA in the upcoming elections? The answer is yes, we are. We'll take some more. We'll take your phone calls. I'll read this article by Chris Powell. Connecticut Democrats as far left as Lamont's rival. Are they? We'll find out. Stick around. Don't move. More news, more views than you can shake a stick at. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. We're back. Reese on the radio, WTIC. And I'm still going over this Bordenaro article. It's Greg Bordenaro who wrote this piece in HartfordBusiness.com about Mamdani, of course, as it relates to Connecticut politics. Him suggesting that Connecticut stands to benefit from businesses that are leaving, even though there are published reports that they're leaving for places like Boston, as opposed to coming to Connecticut. I mean, I just reported on a story today. There's another I reported on a story yesterday and Monday, and there's another story today that it's quite possible that the emerging WNBA franchise, the Connecticut Sun, which, by the way, is doing poorly, I understand, is thinking about going to Providence, Rhode Island. If not Boston. Boston still wants the franchise as well. So there's no interest in people staying in Connecticut. That's what I'm saying. This is foolhardy at best to suggest that New York businesses are going to run from Mamdani only into the clutches of a state that is going to say, yeah, those folks got millions of dollars, let's tax them. And even a moderate Governor Lamont will find a way to make those companies, well, in some way. He may not be as far left as Elliott, but you can damn well bet he's no fan of businesses. Just isn't. We know that. He may be progressive light, but he's still progressive. One of the things I've also heard from Democrats, which again drives me crazy. This is one of my favorite quotes about Mamdani. And it's even here in this piece. Mamdani, for example, has accurately assessed a major problem in New York City. It's way too expensive and lacks enough affordable housing. According to Apartments.com, the average monthly rent in the city was $4,019 for a 591 square foot apartment as early as July, compared to the $2,769 of a 763 square foot apartment in Stamford. Now, they always mention that. He recognized that. And they're talking about that's how he was able to grasp so many voters in New York, because he recognized it's so expensive. Well, should I be in charge of the roads of Connecticut because I notice all the potholes? That's not enough. It's not enough to know. You recognize how expensive it is. You could be living in Alaska in an igloo and still know how expensive it is to live in New York. You could be living in a cave and know it's expensive to live in New York, primarily because you're probably living in a cave because it's too expensive in New York. That's like pointing out that water's wet. This idea with Democrats that because you notice something and are talking about it means you'll be a good leader. He recognizes the struggles of the poor. Yeah, put him in charge. He recognized it. That's all we needed, somebody to pay some attention to it. That was a big thing they all used to say about Barack Obama. You see in the argument all the time, it was like, at least he's talking about it. At least. That's the least he's doing. He's talking about it. We have plenty of problems within the black community. What are you doing about it, Barack? Well, we need to have more conversations. That's all these people are at. What's your plan? And when they do have a plan, it's always making others pay for it. Right? We just need to raise taxes. Well, what do we do with those tax dollars? Then we need to investigate. Investigate what? Exactly why people are poor. Let me give you a couple of hints. There are a myriad of reasons why people are poor. Poor choices. That's for one. It always starts up there. How much do they care about their education? Little to none? That may be a factor. Oh, you can't talk about that because that may be bigoted or racist? Well, then obviously you're not interested in solving the problem. That's another thing that's also in these articles. Always talking about the disparity between the poor and the wealthy in Connecticut or anywhere else for that matter. Always want to have a conversation about that, but not a real conversation. By the way, do you understand when they say, let's have a conversation about it? The conversation is, let's point out that there are rich people and there are poor. That's the conversation. Let's have a conversation about that. And by the way, if we go to any nuance on that conversation, let's just talk about how the people who have all the money are greedy and all the poor people are virtuous. That's the conversation. But I'd like to have a conversation about the choices that poor people make. No, can't have that conversation. No. You can't disparage them for being poor. Maybe they join a gang because they have to. Maybe they don't have an education because it's frowned upon within their community. Well, maybe we should change that. Well, we don't want to ostracize them in any way. Just give them the money and shut up. That's it. Now, if I'm a wealthy person, and I'm going to say this, you don't have to like it, but I'm going to say it. As a wealthy person, if indeed I am, because I'm not wealthy, but if I were, let's say I had a couple million, right? I was a couple of millionaire. And I had the federal government or even the local government telling me that I was making investments in the poor. I would look at that and I would go, no, I'm afraid not, Governor Lamont. I've seen the product, and I wouldn't invest in that if it was actually in the stock market. I would never put any investment in that. Why would I throw my money into that? It's only going to need more money, and it will continue to depreciate every time I put it in there. That's a real conversation. Let's have the real one. Let's have the real conversation. That's the real conversation Mondani won't have. It's the real conversation that Elliott won't have. He wants more tax dollars to invest in something that never, ever appreciates. It only because you are giving them license to stay poor. Because the only thing you guarantee of them is that more and more of them get taxed. Not more and more of the poor doing something. You never, ever hold it over their head and say, hey, listen, we're going to give you this handout, but you got to do this, that, and the third in order to get more of it. Or, hey, we're going to give you this, And you guys have got to use that money to make sure that you're out of poverty so that you don't need their money anymore. It's never about that. It's always feeding the well. No, just keep taxing more and more and more. Ask any one of these guys whether or not their tax increases have ever been fruitful. Ask them if any of their tax increases have ever improved the lives of the poor people they claim to help. Have more and more people been lifted out of poverty? Ask them. I bet you not only do they not know, they haven't even bothered to look into it. You want to know why? Because what happens every 4 years or every 2 years? They're back asking for more money. They're back asking for more and more of your tax dollars. Which again, I mean, if you think about it, imagine your kid had come to you for a loan for a business that he was starting. And year after year, he still needs more money. Hey, son, how's that business going along? Now, we had a rough quarter last quarter, man. But if I had another $10,000, we'd pay all of our bills and we'll at least break even. Hey, you know what, kid? Here you go, $10,000. The next quarter comes around. Hey, son, how's the business going? Still in the red. Yeah, I don't know what it is we're doing. We've been trying some other things, but just can't seem to make it go. Well, what do you think you need to change? Boy, if I had another $20,000, I could pay the bills from last time, and then maybe we'll get into the black a little bit, and then we'll use that on more marketing. It's like, you know what, kid? Here you go, another $20,000. What have we seen in Connecticut? It's the same deal with the tax dollars. Over and over and over again, asking to raise it more. 1%, 2%. Okay, maybe just 1.5% this time. We won't go too high. Just a slither. It means nothing. It's only $1,200 a year more. It's always the same thing. Does anybody ever look at where the money's going to? Has anybody ever looked at whether or not it's improved the lives of the people that they claim to help? No. Well, there seems to be a growing number of people in poverty in the state of Connecticut. There's never a decrease. There's never a story that says we've reduced poverty by even 1%, even 0.5%. No. It grows and it grows and it grows. And what do they think is the way to solve it? Well, obviously, people like Elliot and Mom Donnie. The problem is they're not taxing enough. They're just not taxing enough. It's never about means testing their programs. They say they want to lift people out of poverty and bring them into the middle class. But there's not one metric, there's not one effort to do that. And one effort to do that has never, ever been done by just taxing the wealthy and giving it away. Not one. I don't know a study that suggests it. Unless somebody can tell me otherwise. Come on, you business leaders out there, you economists, you're so brilliant at this. Please explain to me how taxing people more and more and more is lifting those out of poverty into the middle class. Huh? You guys are the wizards of smart. I barely know algebra. Let's take a break. We'll come back. More news, more views, your phone calls when we return. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
We're back, Reese on the radio, and headlines are coming up. I've got a very, very weird headline related to the assassination of politicians in Minnesota that happened a couple of weeks ago. I've got an update on that. If you haven't heard about it, we'll talk about that as well. And some new changes coming to the Department of Homeland Security. That's been talked about as well, so we'll get to that in headlines. Stupidest thing I read today, that's a doozy. With all the talk about deep and the EPA. This has got to be the stupidest thing I've read all week. Can't believe it. And it just flies in the face of just how stupid some of these bureaucrats are, just how stupid they are, and didn't think anyone would notice. We'll get into that as well. Also, the Epstein debacle and what it means and what the point is. I saw somebody in the chat room, I think Bob J. Wrote this in the chat room, that the Epstein thing has to do with Donald Trump. I thought that was hilarious. Just the part that makes this so funny is I just want to, because, I do this every day, so I know that what someone is going to write before they write it, and then when I'm preparing for my show, I'll have a soundbite. Have you noticed that on the show? I will have a soundbite ready and queued up because someone calls in and mentions it, and I'm ready to go. It's people's like, how does he do that so fast? It's easy. It's anticipation. Unfortunately, and this is not an insult, this is not a critique, the news cycle is very powerful. Sometimes it drives the conversation. It's manipulative. I tell people this all the time. So as I said earlier before the opening monologue, I never follow the news cycle. That is a narrative. That's what that's called. And I'm usually, in fact, most times right. It is always meant to influence, get people talking about this, make this the water cooler conversation. I know that. I read it every day. And I read so many different perspectives on this, be it in the middle, left, or right. I spend so much time, and as I said before, jokingly, but being really serious, it drives my wife crazy. Why? Because every time she brings something up to me, I'm just like, yeah, I know, I read it. She's like, and then when I'm right about something, she goes, it's actually annoying that you're right about this stuff all the time. And I don't want to be. It's not like I'm sitting up here patting myself on the back and saying, see, I told you. It's my job. Donald says, Reese, stop ignoring the facts on the Epstein debacle. Okay, see, this is my point, right? Okay, Donald, you've got the floor, sir. Write in the chat room what the facts are. Tell me what the facts, absolute, empirical facts of the Epstein debacle is. What are they? And I know you don't know. I don't even need to try. I know you don't know. I know what you think. I know what you believe. But it's nothing to do with what you know. Nothing. And again, I have that evidence here that proves that nobody knows what they're talking about. This has nothing to do with Epstein. This has nothing to do with the victims. Half of you don't even know the victims' names. Even the people who have come forward, you know nothing about them. You don't care about them. It's a classic, and I mean that on both sides. Okay? This is an opportunity to pat yourself on the back while you stand on the backs of those you claim to care about. You don't. This is about retribution. This is about getting people you hate locked up. Because let me explain something to you. And it's just real simple. And I'll get into it. I'm going to get into the whole debacle. This is the only measurement you need on this. Why are you talking about the list and not talking about indictments? Huh? Why are you talking about the list? Why are you talking about the releasing of the documents but not asking about indictments? If you really care about justice, that's all you need to ask about. I want indictments. Why are there no indictments? Not one person has even brought them up. Not one. Anywhere. And I'll prove it. You don't care about this. This is political theater. And I don't need a phone call from the President of the United States to tell me, hey, quash it. I didn't ask. I don't need I don't need his permission, and I don't need yours. Because I didn't stake my reputation on this. I don't care who's calling for what. The only thing they're not calling for is indictments, and that's all it's about. No matter who it is, if you care about justice and not about retribution or embarrassment or see, to point fingers. If you really, that's the only thing you care about. There's no discussion about them. None. Have you heard it? No. At all. In fact, the only person I can find out so far who's on the record talking about the victims here is Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. Only. And I got her audio ready to go. She's the only person caring about the victims. Everybody else, pound of flesh. Who can I embarrass? Who can I make shame of? That's it. It's the narrative. So again, Donald giving you an opportunity. You're already off on Speaker Johnson. Still haven't posted a fact. And that's all you need to know. Let's get to the top of the hour news with John Silva on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Time to get into some headlines. That's right. In the headlines today, the New York Post is reporting that the former first son, Hunter Biden, says that the reason that Kamala Harris lost in the 2024 election was the party's, quote, disloyalty, end quote, to his father, former President Joe Biden, because the policies had nothing to do with it. Their disloyalty. We know, we learned in every book, Hunter, that no daylight, kid. That was the line Joe Biden said to Kamala Harris, and I'm sure you remember the Sunny Hostin, Houston statement or question to Kamala Harris. Is there anything you do differently? Nothing comes to mind, Kamala said. So this nonsense that there was a disloyalty, that disloyalty didn't happen until after the election was over. Okay? And not only that, don't forget, he kicked a couple of hornets' nests on his own, calling Trump supporters garbage, which led to the garbage can, saying that she worked at McDonald's, although there was no evidence, and people online replacing her face with the white woman's. Remember that debacle? It's like you missed a lot here, buddy. But, I'm not going to suggest that maybe you were busy doing other things, cocaine, in the process that you may have missed it, cocaine. Also, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem suggested today that she is pushing for the Transportation Security Administration to ease up on its liquids and aerosols. And this is, of course, based upon the fact that they got rid of the no shoes policies. So now they're thinking about, sort of letting up on the liquids thing. I don't know how I feel about the liquids thing. That was probably the only thing that made sense to me, was the liquids, using them as flammables, stuff like that. But, or, acid, things like that, or just used as something that may be harmful. So it's a suggestion. I don't know what's going to come of it, but she did mention today that there were going to be some others. People will probably respond favorably to that. I'm just telling you that in my view, I'm not really for that yet. Ding dong, the EV may be dead. Did you hear that? The EV, the electric vehicle, may be dying. General Motors has announced plans to expand its production of gas-powered vehicles and SUVs in Michigan, as well as manufacturing of pickup trucks. Said they still plan on doing the EV thing, but the expansion to gas guzzlers is a good thing because, of course, there is demand for those cars as opposed to EVs. Plus, they are losing their shirt on electric vehicles that people are not willing to buy. So it's, they've been forced by environmental groups and the Bush administration to go heavy on the EV. Now they're pulling back because, of course, the loss of sales has been a big deal. And not only that, EVs just sit around doing nothing. I just want to mention this. This is a great story. I might find it, that I'm sure I have it somewhere in my archives. There was a young lady who bought an EV. Her dad, actually, bought her an EV before he died of complications due to cancer. He bought her an electric vehicle. She was an ideological 16, 17-year-old, got her first car, He got her a used EV. She had it for 6 months, and then it died. And they had to get a new battery for it, but the battery cost twice the amount of the car when they bought it. And they tried to get it back to the dealer. The dealer wouldn't take it. Finally, the dealer took it off her hands for a mere $500. $500 after they spent thousands on the vehicle. And, of course, the used car dealership only gave her $500 back because they couldn't resell it. It's just of no use to them. So I just always find that interesting that people, were so gung-ho about that, the EV thing. If you're going to buy one, buy a Tesla. They're the only ones that people rave about. It's the only one. All the rest of them, not so much. Last but not least, the handwritten letter of accused Minnesota political assassin Vance Bowler to FBI Director Kash Patel was released yesterday following his indictment. Now, I want to make note of this letter because many of you might remember that after the shooting took place and he was on the run, Vince Bowler, police had released to other outlets that there was a manifesto, if you will. And then that was dismissed as being untrue. Now we have this letter, which is confirmed that Vince Bowler wrote it. It is a manifesto. Here is what that manifesto read. For those of you who haven't heard about it, because a lot of mainstream news hasn't covered it. You can also find it in the New York Post. My name is Dr. Vance Luther Bowler. I am the shooter at large in Minnesota involved in the June 22nd shootings, the morning of Saturday, June 21st, at approximately 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. And by the time you read this letter, I will probably be dead by the time you read this letter. He writes again. I wanted to share some info with you that you might find interesting. I was trained by the U.S. military, people off the books, starting in college. I have been on projects since that time in Eastern Europe, South America, in the Middle East, in Africa, all in the line of duty, what I thought was right and in the best interest of the United States. Recently, I was approached about a project that Governor Tim Walz wanted done, and redacted were also aware of the project. Governor Tim Walz wanted me to kill Senator Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith. Ken, redacted, is to retire as planned. Tim wants to be senator, and he doesn't trust redacted to retire as planned. And that's so he's going to stay at the last minute with Amy Klobuchar. Gave Tim would, I don't know, there's some sort of dash here. Gave Tim would get one of the open Senate seats, and redacted wants to be governor. And Keith Ellison would be head of the redacted governor's position. I told Tim I wasn't willing to do what it was if he didn't call off that plan. I would go public. He said that he would call it off. That's great. If I didn't play ball, then he set up a meeting with me and redacted to talk about guns. When I arrived, they had some people waiting to kill me, he writes. I was able to get away by God's mercy. I went back a short time later and started what redacted. Doesn't say what. So he goes on to say that if you notice, I didn't shoot back at police officers when they approached him at 3:30 in the morning. He talks about the weapons that he had at his disposal. He did not, because he wanted no harm to come to police officers. He was fulfilling the plan, according to him, that he says Tim Walz wanted him to do. That's his letter. So again, as I said in the beginning, we were told no such manifesto existed. Indeed, there was, and it's now been released. So that's where we are with that story. So we'll find out whether or not there's any truth to it. We'll find out what he says in court, if there's any other details he's willing to give. He does go on to say that if you don't believe me, ask Tim Walz certain pointed questions. Tim Walz will have to answer them, he says. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's going to pursue it. I really doubt it. Maybe they will. Roseanne said something crazy about that. She says, who would have thought, like, if it's true, who would have thought that Tim Walz, like jazz hands, would be so notorious? Yeah, what'd you call him? Dainty little what? The dainty little piglet, Tim Walz. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, like I said, that's it. I'm just here to give you what the manifesto reads. Whether or not it's true, we'll find out. More news to come. Tomorrow is the 17th. And apparently there is a protest that's happening all across the country that is called the Good Trouble Protests. And this is to commemorate the life and the, I guess, civil rights leader who is, why am I forgetting his name? Gosh, I done forgot his name. What is the name of the guy who did that Good Trouble thing? Passed away not too long ago. He's out of Baltimore. I can't remember his name. John Lewis, that's him. John Lewis, Representative John Lewis. So it's supposed to commemorate him. It's supposed to go all over the country. And it's supposed to be huge. It's one of the only protests that are taking place during the week instead of the weekend. Primarily because I understand that it is his birthday. Is that the reason why? Yeah, so Indivisible is doing most of the planning of this. So, he died on July 17th. Okay. So what I found interesting about this was, and we talked about this at length, I was shouted down, I was dismissed, when I told you that many of these protests are paid for. No one wants to believe me. But only one person could clear up my claims, and that is somebody who gets paid to do just that. And he does exist. He's a guy by the name of Adam Swart. We played him on this show before. And according to him, he was offered a substantial amount of money to organize as a part of this protest. What did he do? Let's take a listen.
Oh, Brian, quickly, before I let you go, did he explain about why he doesn't want...
That's the wrong one. Here we go.
Have the organizers of the July 17th demonstrations approached you?
Interests aligned with the organizers of the July 17th movement have approached us. And in fact, we rejected an offer that probably is worth around $20 million.
$20 million?
Correct. I mean, this is a nationwide thing, right? It's not to say I would have made $20 million personally, but the value of the contract would have been worth around that amount nationwide to organize huge demonstrations around the country. But personally, I just don't think it's effective. So I'm not trying to call myself virtuous for rejecting it. What I'm saying is, I'm rejecting it not because I don't want to take the business, but because, frankly, this is going to be ineffective. It's going to make us all look bad.
Now think about that. Because Adam Swart has participated in the protests that you've seen all year. And he believes it is going to make them look bad. Because why? Because the polling data doesn't support it. Every time you see a protest, polling data doesn't show Democrats actually gaining any ground. It just doesn't. But he also said something else. That was a clip I almost played. But he also said something else that was interesting. Here are the reporters after that interview talking about one of the reasons why Adam Swart turned down the money.
Oh, Brian, quickly, before I let you go, did he explain about why he doesn't want to be involved with Thursday's protests?
Well, he said he had some concern about violence based on what he's seen in the past, but mostly he just doesn't think that it's productive or really making a difference, big picture, about how the country feels about President Trump. And he says he just didn't want to get involved.
Now, again, as he said himself, he's not a virtuous guy. He doesn't want to appear to be virtuous. He just doesn't want to be a part of something that is ineffective. After a while, your business model means nothing, right? It's like, nobody's going to continue to throw money at something that doesn't reap any benefits. Like, this is supposed to be the hurrah. And you know what? This protest tomorrow, you know who it's going to involve. Radicals, Antifa types, communist types. There are going to be some rabble-rousers there. There's no telling what could happen. They could destroy the entire movement. All they have to do is have one bozo show up with a gun. Happened at the last protest. Happened at several. One place, all it has to do is get burned down. Sure enough, everything goes haywire. Destroys the entire movement. They're going to be protesting ICE, which we know, right? And anything and everything under the sun. It's going to get bad. It does. Why? Because they have no real control over these people. None. And as I've always said here, and why do I refer to them as rabid dogs? That the Democrat Party, they nurtured, they raised, they taught. They told them what to be angry about. In fact, remind them every day what to be angry about. And now we know, because of that Axios piece, that many affluent, white, suburban supporters of the Democrat Party, they've had enough with the niceties. They need violence. They want violence. Somebody's got to get shot, they said. The time for niceties is over. That's where they are today. What do you think this nationwide protest is going to be? There's no way for any of these folks to control it. They have no control. So they can sit around and scream all day, please be peaceful, please don't do this, that. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. As I told you in the last protest, what did I say? Don't go, right? I said, don't go. Be careful. People out there don't have your interest at heart. They don't care about you. Those folks have their own mission. Those folks are paid by entities. They're the sacrificial lamb. They are the useful idiots. Don't worry, we'll pay your bail. Don't worry, we'll get you attorneys. Those folks have inexhaustible finances to make sure that those folks are taken care of. Don't worry about it. You do a little bit of time, we'll take care of you. We got your commissary covered. And these bozos who have nothing left to live for, they got no prospects in life. Oh, they're easy. They are easy pickings. Hell. Don't you ever ask yourself why they never ever grab the kids in the hood? Why don't they grab some of those shooters in the hood? Any one of those gangbangers. Said, hey, want to make a quick buck? Oh, hell. It'd be carnage. Oh, baby. You want one of these protests that look like Chicago on a weekend? You start paying those folks, those protests that look like Chicago on Malcolm X Boulevard. Oh, man. I hope that never happens. I hope that never happens. I hope they don't get so desperate. Because that'll be... I mean, I can only imagine what it would be like. I mean, if you think about it, that those 11 people got arrested in Texas with that tactical gear, brand new guns. Whew. Imagine one of those guys said, I've got an idea. Let's go to the Miracle Mile. Whoa, that would be a mess. I don't want to put any ideas in anybody's head. Indivisible, you guys, listen, go on about your business. Proceed. Please don't take any of my ideas. I'm literally being tongue-in-cheek here, okay? Don't get dangerous. You're not that desperate, okay? You're not that desperate. You're fine. Your pockets you guys are going to be okay. Just saying. We'll come back. More news, more views. We'll get into the Epstein debacle when we return. You don't want to miss it. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. And we're back. It's Reese on the radio. News Talk 1080. What do I got here? I got a whole bunch of stuff that I need to get into. In this break, I figured that it's only proper. I was going to do it at the 4 o'clock hour, but it's necessary to get into it because, again, it is a conversation that everyone wants to have or everyone wants to talk about. And I told you a lot of this stuff is always narrative based because it's sort of like look at anything in life. And if you pay attention to the focus, you'll understand its importance or its relevance. You know, we looked at the story of the flood in Texas, in Kerr County, Kerrville to be specific. And you look at that and your concerns immediately are about the devastation and then the loss of life, and then even more specifically, the young ladies of Camp Mystic. And then in the blink of an eye, the story becomes Sadie, what's her name, Pickens or Perkins. In the blink of an eye, it becomes about her telling people, don't pay attention to those girls. It's about white supremacy and all this stuff. That's it. People immediately, like Sadie Perkins, took the focus right off those girls. Didn't care. Wanted to make it about herself. Became in the forefront. And then went nuts with it, like for days. Continued to go on social media. And what did everyone do? Immediately switched the narrative. I talked about it one day, moved on. It's a story worth bringing up, poking fun at how outrageous the young lady was, moving on, and focusing on what took place. That's all it is. It's a blip. But Jeffrey Epstein is something else. And I'm here to tell you it's got nothing to do with any crimes. It's got to do with none of those young women. None of it. It's got to do with conspiracy, with innuendo. It's got to do with Donald Trump. Oh, do we finally have him? The Biden administration and the Biden Department of Justice, they had these files. They did. People have been talking about it since 2023. I have proof of it. They never mentioned it. And remember, they pulled out all the stops to keep Donald Trump from being president of the United States. That wasn't one of the things out of the arsenal? I'll say again. They had the info. Marsha Blackburn was begging Dick Durbin to release the files. That would have been the end of Donald Trump. Did they not pull out all the stops everywhere else? I mean, for crying out loud, they made up a case about $130,000 paid to his lawyer in lawyer fees. About what? About what? What? Yes, sexual engagement with a porn star. How salacious. And you don't think that if you got hold of the Epstein files and Donald Trump is on them, you don't release them to end the political nightmare that is his reelection? I'm still trying to figure it out, folks. Somebody, anybody? That's what I thought. This is about other stuff. Let's go to Pramila Jayapal, Democrat from Washington. She was asked on CNN, hey, you had a hold of this. Why didn't you care then?
If you see such a need to investigate this, why didn't you raise it during the Biden administration? I mean, we couldn't find that you made any public comments about Epstein in previous administrations.
Well, I would have been happy to raise it then as well. Frankly, we were focused on so many different pieces, but I have been one of the Democrats that has been consistent on what I call out Republican presidents for.
What? You were so busy what? Trying to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office. You know it, folks. There's no denying it. Pramila Jayapal, wasn't she? Wasn't she one of the people who were out there trying to keep the president of the United States out of the Oval Office the second time around? Yeah. Why wasn't she focused on it? Well, I think if you check the record, let's listen to some more.
and Democratic presidents for, whether it is FISA, reforms that we need, whatever it has been. I've been pretty consistent. War powers. I've criticized Joe Biden just as I'm criticizing Donald Trump. I think transparency is not something that should happen only when you have a Republican president. It is something that we need for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
So they had nothing. That's why. Or we'll go to conspiracy route like the rest of you are going. They were on it. So just like, again, let's make it make sense. Remember how much you guys got on my case about bringing up the ladies of The View, especially my favorite person on that show, Sunny Houston Houston. Remember her? Yeah. Let's talk about the Epstein files. Just a year apart from each other. Here's Sunny Houston Houston in 2024 on the same subject.
People were dying for this information. There was some sort of list that everybody thought was going to come out, and who's on the list. What's important for us to note is we shouldn't be repeating names that are on the list, because just because your name has not on the list, but in the documents, just because your name is on the documents doesn't mean that you have done anything criminally irresponsible or illegal or civilly irresponsible.
Or that you were a client.
Or that you were a client. These documents, as I read them, only reflect Epstein's sexual assaults of women and his sexual behavior. So I think that...
And Ghislaine also?
And Ghislaine. And so being named in this suit does not equate to being accused of wrongdoing. And I think that is extremely important because conspiracy theorists seem to not understand or enjoy facts.
Yeah.
These are the facts. Yeah.
What happened? That was The View. That was an entire minute diatribe from Sunny Houston Houston. Just because you're on it doesn't mean anything. Just because you're on it doesn't mean you did any wrongdoing. That was 2024, ladies and gentlemen. Not 2020 even. Last year. What happened? Let's find out what happened. Here's Sunny Houston Houston this year. Just recently.
There is a list. Trump's name is on the logs, the passenger logs of Epstein's aircraft at least 7 times. That's already been made public. I mean, of course, Trump is denying any and all allegations, but all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
Yeah, let's release the list. As I mentioned earlier, Dick Durbin, Marsha Blackburn. This was January 30th. This was during the confirmation hearing of Kash Patel, the FBI director. This exchange between the both of them as she demanded in January of this year for the release of the files. Dick Durbin, a Democrat, saying, I didn't know what you're all over. I don't know what you're talking about.
When my Republican colleagues prevented Senator Blackburn from offering an amendment to the flight logs. Prior to the committee's November 9th, 2023 Supreme Court ethics subpoena markup, Senator Blackburn had never raised Epstein's flight logs with me publicly or privately.
You hear that? Marsha Blackburn never raised those concerns publicly or privately. Dick Durbin said in front of the world. He said more.
During the November 30th, 2023 Supreme Court ethics subpoena authorization markup, I tried to recognize her multiple times, but there was an effort to close down the committee before any further business went forward on the Republican side. Many Epstein records, including flight logs, have been public for years. My office subsequently reached out to hers to try to identify what record she was actually seeking. We did not receive a response.
2023, Dick Durbin. I don't know what she's talking about. I tried to recognize her, but you know what? She never got back to me. Marsha Blackburn was everywhere saying, why is Dick Durbin holding this up? Why won't he release the files? Again, Marsha Blackburn, what's been her stance? Right here.
I had raised the issue with Chairman Durbin. I had raised it on the floor that we wanted to get these records. And then during that hearing that you're recognizing, sir, or that you're mentioning, I sought recognition. It was not my Republican colleagues that ended that hearing. Mr. Chairman, you had the gavel, and you were the chairman, and you sought not to recognize me. And I know, and you know, and so many people are aware, sir, that you and Christopher Wray did not want those out. And I know we need to move on for questions, but Mr. Chairman, we have fought this issue for quite some time. I look forward to having an FBI that will work to help get these records and end this human and sex trafficking in this country.
Now, again, this dismisses all the nonsense, all of it. All that such and such about who needs to do this and who needs to do that. Because what did Dick Durbin say just yesterday after all of that? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Dick Durbin today has changed his tune. Let's play it and I'll explain why.
Do you now want to see the files released?
You heard the question, right? Do you now want to see the files released? Why? Because that correspondent knows that Dick Durbin was against it before. That's why she's asking the question. Do you now want to see them released?
Do you now want to see the files released?
Absolutely. Leader Jeffries is right. Either they misled the American people with this conspiracy theory for years, or they're covering it up now. I joined with Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland during the appropriations process last week. We offered an amendment together. The amendment said that they should preserve the evidence of the Epstein investigation and release it to the American people. It passed by a voice vote. The Republicans didn't want a record vote on the issue. But it really gets to the bottom line. Let's let the American people see the truth.
Yeah, let's let the American people see the truth. Now, we're up against it on time, but when we come back, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to tell you exactly why people like Donald and everybody else on the left is all of a sudden got such an interest in the Epstein files. And it's really, really simple. It's the funniest. It's absolutely hilarious. And I'm loving every bit of it. And it goes back to a campaign by Democrats a couple of months ago. But I expected most people to miss it because, again, they're looking at the shiny object, not paying attention to the nuance. This has given a lot of people some hope, but they're going to end up being wrong. Stick around. I'll explain that when we return. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080.
It's Reese on the radio. Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. Right for you. On NewsTalk 1080, WTIC.
We're back. As promised, let me explain to you why this whole thing has been contentious at best in the news media. In particular, with left-wing blowhards, talking heads, whatever the case may be. The Jeffrey Epstein files have created a rift amongst MAGA influencers. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Benny Johnson, all of these individuals who have the biggest influence, Joe Rogan, the biggest influence, Tucker Carlson, that because they have shown this either rejection of Pam Bondi or the official statement by the DOJ, that Democrats are seizing on it. We have him. His acolytes are breaking free. They see that, and now they wish, we finally got it. It was the one thing that would break them apart. It was Jeffrey Epstein. We have to make this an issue, as does the news media. A story they didn't want to touch during the Biden administration. They had the files. They had every reason. Now, did Donald Trump actually sort of create the issue by saying that, look, when we get the files, we'll release them? Yeah. But many people made their career off of it. That is where the problem lies. And this goes all the way back to QAnon, Pizzagate, and all that other stuff. This is about people's reputations, be it bloggers, radio hosts, TV personalities, and all that other stuff. They thought they were going to get the goods. They were going to get vindication. And now their audience is saying, yo, what happened? Yo, what's going on? And they've got no answer. And so now, because of the importance of credibility, people now have to show, no, I don't want anybody to think that I just side with the president on everything. I just want to make sure that, I got to keep my integrity. I don't want to be like the Democrats here, because I admonished them for so long, for just drinking the Kool-Aid of the Biden administration. I got to maintain the status quo here in my business. Because all they're talking about is the files. Again, no conversation about what? Indictments. No conversations about Pam Bondi. It's like, okay, you know what, Pam Bondi? That's fine. You don't have a file. He did kill himself, blah, blah, blah. Is anybody going to be held accountable for what was going on with these women, with these young ladies? Is anybody going to see the inside of a prison cell? Are there going to be any indictments? Are there going to be any prosecutions? Is there any of that coming? I don't care about the list. Let's get justice for these women. No one is talking about it. Not a soul. Except Marsha Blackburn. Find the person out there. Find them out there who's talking about it. Who isn't talking about their own allegiance to Trump. Making it all about them. So I told you this before. Maybe you don't remember it. I do this show every day, 5 days a week. You might not remember some of the things that I talk about here on the air. But I said this over and over again. There are too many people who have used Donald Trump or their insight into Donald Trump to advance their own careers. I know him. I know what he thinks. And using that as a bridge to get people to listen to their shows. That's what it's all about. Their relationship with Donald Trump. I was invited to the White House. Donald Trump was on my show. I interviewed him. I helped him get elected. And now all of a sudden they're concerned about people who may have been. I don't want anybody to think I was a rube in some way. It's all about their personal credibility. Just saying. Speaking of credibility, let's go to some credible people. We've got John Silva with news. We got Jason Catarina with weather. And Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. How are you, sir?
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Yep, if you want to get on the phones, you can. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. We got more news, more views than you can shake a stick at. And we're also going to, we got some winners that we have a contest, of course. We have some winners that we have to announce. We'll do that in a little bit. Also, we got the stupidest thing I read today coming up in a little bit. Also, I have new information about Judge Boasberg. You guys might remember this guy. He was the one who's putting all of these injunctions on President Donald Trump's executive orders. Well, there's new information about Boasberg that you're going to want to hear. And it's what Donald Trump has always alleged about the judge. We'll get to that also. Don't forget the stupidest thing. That's a local thing. We got some other movie news. What happened is coming up as well. And I can't think of anything else, but I'm sure that we got some other stuff that we need to get into right at the top of the head. We'll get into that. I want to address this real quick. I'll do it in 30 seconds. This idea that I'm some sort of partial person, as if that's to some form of condemnation. Let me address this briefly in this way. I'm a conservative, and my views are conservative leaning. I'm not wishy-washy. I'm not down the middle. This idea that that's ideal is a joke. I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll, is clownish. I have conviction. What I believe is what I believe, and it's usually based on empirical evidence and personal experience. That's it. This whole, he's never ever on the other side, because I'm not. I'm just Reese. I'm not flexible. I'm not malleable. Okay? I'm none of those things. Get used to it. If you're looking for a host who does that, go see Mike Smirkanish on Saturdays, wherever the hell he's hanging out at. I'm down the middle. I'm not down the middle. I'm Reese on the radio. Let's get the weather and traffic. Jason Catarina's got your weather. And Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. He's not down the middle. He just tells you what the facts are, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
President of the Chris Murphy Fan Club, Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
As usual, this ridiculous computer. And it's not that I don't even need a new one. I had the darn thing checked, and it does these weird things now and again where it's not like working for me, and it doesn't even freeze. It just goes through these stupid little changes that I have to explain all the time. It drives me through the roof all the time. Just does. What are you going to do?
Savory, flavory, bagel, deli, and bacon.
That's right.
Between rounds.
And it is time to say congratulations to our Between Rounds dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe, located in South Windsor, Vernon, and Manchester. That goes out to Maureen C. of West Hartford. It's nice to get somebody close by. Maureen, is going to win a dozen bagels a month for 6 months. If you'd like an opportunity to win, you got to go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. Go to the Between Rounds fill-out form. Put everything there from your telephone number to your date of birth. Date of birth is very important. Roland will not send you anything unless you give his date of birth. I guess, because he's got some sort of weird obsession about dates of birth. I don't know. I think it's part of the... I don't want to throw him under the bus. But yes, please leave your date of birth. I know a lot of people, especially women, do not want to put their date of birth. Don't worry about it. We won't tell anybody what your date of birth is. And leave your telephone number. I will not call you. I promise. Unless you ask nicely. But I promise you, I will not call you. It's just because we have to give the information to Between Rounds. Also, in a little bit, we've got an opportunity for you to win a prize package to go to the Yard Goats at Dunkin' Donuts Arena, Dunkin' Donuts Field. We'll talk to you about that in a little bit as well, so stand by for that. Let's get to our phones, 860-522-WTIC. Wall Street Joe's in the house. How are you, sir?
Yeah, hi. Caught my attention today. Watergate brought down the Nixon presidency, and the Democrats think that the Epstein files will bring down the Trump presidency.
I think, but do you think it's more about Trump, or it's more about seeing that the coalition of Trump supporters, like MAGA, as it were, is fighting itself, or there's infighting that they can use that and seize that opportunity in 26?
Well, unless something changes, it's not going to go away, and it's going to divide the MAGA group. I sent Corey Lewandowski an email yesterday. I think it's a perfect solution. When Biden got caught with all those documents in his garage and all over the place, they appointed a special counsel prosecutor to look into it, which resulted in him saying, well, he's too old, bad memory, we're going to let it go. But I guess Pam Bondi would have to appoint the special counsel. But if Trump would just come out, and this is what I sent Corey Lewandowski, please consider this strongly. If Trump comes out and announces in a day or two going to have Pam Bondi appoint a special counsel to look into this matter, and the special counsel will come out with a complete report, release everything, and if there's anything that's not released, it's qualified why it can't be released. That'll be it. And for the next month, 2, 3, 6 months, that'll be how it's addressed, a special counsel. Trump can go about his business with all the great things he's doing to, help America in the foreign policy. It's a big distraction, and it's diverting attention away from all his accomplishments up till now, which is spectacular.
Which is exactly what Donald Trump is saying, because he's, again, screaming and hollering at his base, saying, look, I don't want your support anymore if you're going to make this all about the Epstein files. But just to dovetail off of what you just mentioned with the special counsel, I just saw a report. John Solomon of Just the News, who's an avid, you've probably seen him on Hannity quite a bit. Hannity always goes to him on air, live on air. John Solomon is reporting now that inside the White House that a special counsel is being considered for the Epstein files as well as other situations going on in the White House. They're going to, in essence, take it out of Pam Bondi's hands.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, because the Democrats are going to make this another Watergate, and it's also to deflect all the great things that Trump's been doing and will continue to do. Hey, before you go, I called really to bring up an important situation. It's spreading all over New England. That stuff in the river that you've been on, state of Connecticut using the poison. Yeah, okay, that's really important. But listen to this: have you gotten any awareness? There's a deadly ant that was introduced here by agents of China. You know how the agents of China introduced that fungus out in the Midwest?
I do remember that.
The farm sector? All right, agents around the country and in Massachusetts a few years ago, they released queens of this native North Korean China ant. It's called the needle ant. Needle ant. Look it up. Needle ant. And it bites. It stings. It bites.
Is it poisonous?
Well, if you're allergic to bees, stings, and stuff, yeah.
Right.
A friend of mine in Manchester has a pool. He got stung by one last weekend just going to his pool to clean it. They look like carpenter ants, but they're thinner. That's why they're called the needle ant. And they have a shell around themselves, so predators, like birds and stuff.
Can't eat them.
Yeah, look it up on the computer.
Okay, I will.
It's primarily from North Korea, but it's going to spread all around, and it eats up. There's going to be no more butterflies, no more moths. It's going to wipe out the.
Sorry. I'm sorry. You're going to be mad at me about the butterflies. Not fans. Not a fan.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Very serious. It's very
all right,
serious.
I'll look it up, Joe. I promise. I'll look it up. Thank you, boss. Let's go to Fulton in Waterbury. How are you, sir?
Okay, ants and I don't know, fungus. It takes me over. So it might be what took down the dinosaurs, possibly. I don't know.
I'm hoping that the Chinese did not bring the needle ant to mildly inconvenience us, because that
was one of my biggest fears. Besides COVID-19, it was the needle ant. But those two things China released, geez. But I was really calling. Well, what side are you on the spitting incident? I watched the video finally, and I want to know on the sergeant spitting thing.
No. You listen to me. Look. I've had this happen to me, and I'm quite ashamed to mention it. I'm very ashamed to mention what I'm about to. I have only been spat on once, and I have to admit that what I did may have been unforgivable. But I want you to consider the circumstances, and you'll get where I am on this incident. I'm walking on Sullivan Street in the Greenwich Village. It is maybe a couple of months after my son Caleb is born, and I'm carrying him in one of those carriers that are on your chest, like on your stomach that you are carrying. And we are trying to walk by on a crowded street on Sullivan, which is a very thin, narrow street. And I couldn't go out on the street or else we'll be hit by cars that are driving by. And I tried to convince a guy if he could get move to the sidewalk so myself and my sister can get through. He refuses because he's had a few and he decides he wants to be rude. And he's like, yeah, go around, you stupid, such and such. Anyway, he stands there. I can't go anywhere else. My only option is to go into the street. And with me holding my son, I decide to take my leg and my knee and go in between his, and I kind of give him a little hip check to move him out of the way. To which he spun around and spat in my face while I held my son. No sooner.
Fair enough. So.
No sooner than he spat in my face. I clocked him.
In the face.
I clocked him. He hit the ground. He was knocked out, and I proceeded to walk. When the police came up to me as I reached the corner by Cafe Wa, I told them exactly what happened, and they allowed me to go home.
Oh, 100%. I would have said the same thing. I would have arrested him.
That's all you need to know.
Second for egregious liquid. But so if you watch the video now, so now take that into account. So now so say somebody has a beef with you on the radio, right?
Right.
And I looked at the video, the first video, and he probably should have been arrested the first time. But if I showed up at your house where your family is, you see that thing in his hand? Why does he have two cameras? Why does he have a camera in his hand that looks like a gun?
It's an interesting point. Look, I'm not saying that it's right to be walking up to someone's home and thinking that you're in the right in the event that something goes south, because, again, if you feel like your family's in danger, I do believe that there is a line in which you cross. But it is evidently clear that that line had not been met yet. It's one step, again, the assault, because the person has their hands down on the side or they're up into, in essence, in a defense position. You can't spit on a guy. I don't care how right you are.
No, but he's walking. So they're walking. So he's not spitting. He's spitting when he's talking.
Yeah, but no. But remember, hold on now, Fulton. Fulton, you must now. You said you saw the video. What is the one?
The whole video.
No, I know you did. But let me tell you one thing that I did notice, and again, this is where I draw the line. You don't have to escalate anything when you are in the right, and here's where I call the escalation: when the person you are approaching is retreating, don't go any further. You understand that? So in that video, what do you see? Hold on. Who's advancing and who's retreating? The spitter or the spitty?
All right. So let me put it to you this. So you had your son in your hands, right?
Yeah.
What if that guy's kids were at the house and this guy doesn't know what this guy's about? Knocking on his door. He wants to talk about his overtime. He answers. He goes, "Who are you?" "I'm a journalist. I have a We the People shirt with something in my hand that looks like maybe a microphone. With everything that goes on today, I don't know what just happened out in Minnesota."
Yeah, but that's a lot of probables. That's a lot of probables.
It's not probable, but why are someone showing up to my house a quarter mile? If you look how long that driveway is, it's clearly posted. There is a sign that I watch when they walk out that says no trespassing.
Right.
But he walks by. So, it's a pretty good distance to walk through his property. So you live in Texas. How would it be in Texas? I show up to your house, walk a quarter mile into your ranch. He doesn't even use the sidewalk. He walks right over his grass, bangs on the door. I want to talk about your overtime at your job.
Listen. I don't think I'm dismissing that, Fulton. I totally get where you're coming from, because again, there are a lot of probables in what you're saying, but I do have to look at the evidence as it is, not as it could have been. If you hear me out here, right? It's like I get exactly everything that you're saying is 100% the point, because in that moment, he could have taken it any way he wanted to. If he had dealt with it like this, we would be in that situation. If he had dealt with it like that, we would be in that situation. We can only go on what happened. And
so you think his intent was to spit on him when he was talking?
No. That you need to listen. Because remember, it's almost like this, and again, the instant that I swing on the guy who spat on me, considering the circumstances, what if it was just me and my sister and everybody in that crowd who had witnessed me clock that guy had decided I was in the wrong? I have placed myself in that position because I have determined that that's how I should deal with it. And again, in that instant, and I say this all the time, maybe it's something I should reiterate more often than I do, that is the tightrope that you walk on as a person. Once you go into a situation, even if you are shouting at a guy and you're advancing, and in the midst of your shouting, you spit on a guy, you have put yourself in that position. What he should have done was get off my property and not advance. He advanced. So we are where we are. So in that advancement of getting into his face and wanting so badly to get into a match with him, which we can clearly suggest in that video, that what he wants to do is, one, threaten this guy enough to get him off his property, but he's doing it to the point where he's in the guy's face, which is, again, unnecessary. But that's where you cross the line and enter the tightrope scenario. Because in that instant...
His nuclear was...
What if he had... Try this on for size. If we're talking about hypotheticals, let's say you're advancing the guy, getting up in his face, telling him, "Get off my property. What are you here for? Blah, blah, blah." And this guy inadvertently trips on a rock behind him as he's walking backwards. He hits his head, gash is open. What happens then? Right? Because there are so...
Your homeowners, you get sued.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what... Exactly. So in the instant that something could happen, you have to ask yourself, at what role do I play in all of this? Now, I'm going to bring some recovery stuff out of this, is that when I look at a situation like that, I can blame all day that the reason why I spat on the guy was because he was in my face and he showed up at my house. But I also have to ask myself, why did I do what I did? Why did I respond the way that I did? Did he put me in a position? And I will tell you this, Fulton, that is always about fear. Either he was afraid of being exposed, either he was afraid that this guy was going to get the goods on him, or something else. But what he should have done.
100%. The overtime, $80,000, that's outrageous.
Yeah, dude, because it looks bad.
And 100% out. It looks bad. You'll be getting angry. It looks even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
You should have sat on your porch and been
exactly.
I'm asking you to leave, sir.
He's defensive, right?
You're asking you to leave.
Right. He's being defensive, and his reactions, again, like I said, the person who's coming up to your house may be wrong, but you don't make the situation better when you advance him and you're outside of the property in his face and you're screaming and hollering so much that you inadvertently spit on the guy. All of a sudden, it is completely switched. It's not about the wrong he did. It's how you responded. And
so
that's
let me
always
ask
the
you,
case.
So if he punches him because he spits on while he's talking, do you think he's in the right now too?
No. What I think is that at that point, you've crossed that Rubicon, and now you need to deal with the consequences. If the police decide to press charges or if the individual decides to press charges, then you got to deal with that. But again, that's what crossing the line means. When I clocked the guy, I made that decision.
Was he really retreating or was he arguing? Because as soon as he got right off the guy's property, he wasn't scared anymore. The guy had a gun. He stood there.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, that's
stood his ground. So how scared was he actually?
I don't know. I got to take a break, though.
But
Fulton,
you would have done, turned around and got the hell out of there.
That's exactly what I think he should have done. I got to take a break, Fulton, but thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Buddy,
Lively, man.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later, man.
You got it, sir. Let's get some weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark. Why would I forget that? Why would I forget that? Why would, of all the things I couldn't forget, why did I forget that? I always do it every time. We're back. It's Reese on the Radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. Somebody may mention the fact that I'm not a fan of butterflies. I went with my wife to some zoo, and they had a butterfly thing. They're not all they're cracked up to be. Okay, that's all I'm saying. All right? No, I don't like butterflies. Okay? They're just flying insects. That's it. I know people think that's crazy. What is wrong with you? I said what I said. Okay? There's nothing to do with it. They're not a political group. All right? All right, they're not a group of people. They're insects, okay? And I don't care how much you think their pretty little wings are. They are insects. And my wife wanted to go through this whole botanical thing with them flying all around and landing on you. Like, oh, it's so pretty. It's on your finger. No. It's an insect. I think butterfly. I think cockroach. Same thing. Both bugs. One has wings, one does not. And in some countries, the cockroaches have wings too. You don't go around there wanting them to get on your finger. Usually,
down south.
Yeah, exactly. Even down south. In some cases, you're running away from them like it's Jurassic Park. It's the horror. That's all. Just because you think of them different ways doesn't mean we all do. And I don't care if it's an unpopular opinion, just so you know. Butterflies. That's ridiculous. Let's do this thing.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
Stupidest thing I read today, folks. You can't go swimming at Rocky Neck. You can't. You can't. Because deep in the EPA say, I couldn't believe this, no swimming at Rocky Neck State Park due to water quality issues. Yes, because of water quality issues. Swimming is off limits at Rocky Neck State Park in Niantic on Wednesday, according to the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Testing the water on Tuesday detected potential for, wait for it, bacteria. Bacteria. Bacteria is the problem. Yeah. Indicator bacteria does not necessarily cause disease, but it's one factor that the state uses to evaluate water quality. That's what DEEP is saying on its website. The water is being tested today. In Ellington, there's also no swimming at Sandy Beach and Crystal Lake because the water is not suitable, according to the Ellington Recreational Department. It's likely due to storm water runoff and high temperatures and other environmental factors, they said. So it's a problem. Bacteria. Deep said that. You're an embarrassment. Let's get another check of the weather and traffic. With Jason, Katarina, and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. I wonder if I wonder if there's any rainwater that's going to be causing any more runoff. Mark's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Program, y'all. Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I totally forgot to mention this. So I said yesterday that I should do an article about people who keep saying they're going to leave the United States. I kept talking about that. I said, people should, I should write an article about that because I always hear people saying that, I'm going to leave. So I was doing some research on it, and I ended up writing an article. And again, I want to thank the Connecticut Sentinel for publishing it. But you can find it at my Substack, free of charge at Substack. Just go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. You can go to the new article. The headline is, I'm leaving America. Again? Sure you are. But here was the thing that I found interesting. And it's in the article. You can read the whole detail. This crazy statistic that I was able to research in the article. So you have all of these people leaving the United States. And what's primarily the reason why they're leaving? They all say it's because America is too white, too racist, too much privilege, the usual stuff. Now, they never end up moving to some of the places that many immigrants leave to come here to the United States. They go to these other countries. And here's what the statistics bear out. Many of them, according to this, right? Let's go through some of the numbers. And this one I found fascinating. Over 800,000 U.S. citizens are moving to Mexico. Now, that seems like, whoa, they are moving. Well, that totally disproves your point, Reese. Not really. They're moving to Mexico City and to the high-end regions in Mexico City. They're not going to regular old Mexico. They're going to Mexico City. They go to Canada. 270,000 Americans live there. And the other countries they're going to, Portugal, Spain, and the UK. That's where they're going. Try this on for size. Portugal, 95% white. Spain, 91% white. The UK, with the exception of course, the immigration they've got going on in there, still 83% white. And Canada, still 75% white. 75% white. And the government is actively trying to get immigration into that country. So where do they go? They end up going all these European countries in white and white places. They don't even go to these places that are majority black or brown at all. They don't. So if you want to check out the article, go to reeseontheradio.com, go to Substack. The article's there. It's, again, it's virtue signaling at its worst. But they claim they're all leaving. But it's where they're going that's interesting. So if you want to check it out, please do that. Let's get to the phones, 860-522-WTIC. Adam, what's going on, sir? Adam? Okay, maybe not. All right, Ralph, what's going on, Ralph?
Reese, how you doing? Why aren't they moving to Africa?
Oh, my God. So my wife, I'll let you finish, but this is great. So my wife is watching a TV show. Apparently it came out on either 22 or 23. I'm not sure what it was. But it's called Coming From America. Of course, there's a twist on words in Coming to America or Coming From America, where these people, they videotape them, and there's a reality show of them going to Africa. Well, one of the guys I actually know, he's a comedian by the name of Gerald Kelly. He moved his family to Ghana, and they hate it. They hate it. It's the worst.
I'm sure. I mean, and these are people who, they looking for apparently an even number of brown people, white people, black people, purple people. You should have like 10% of each, I guess, in their minds.
No. Yeah, it's
which is kind of ridiculous.
Incredible.
But the reason I called, Reese, is will you please explain to me and your listeners how New Yorkers can elect a communist who's going to destroy that city? How can they even think about something like that? This guy, look at what he's proposing. He's an anti-Semite, so I hope the Jewish people are smart enough not to vote for him.
Yeah, but they are not the overwhelming majority in that city. And the worst part about that is, this is the scare, if you want to be scared to death, right? Only 14% of registered voters showed up to that election, the primary. Only 14. Well, I think it's 17%. I'm sorry. 17%.
No, I thought it was 13, but go ahead.
No, yeah. So it's anywhere between 14 and 17, but that's still, I mean, come on. It's demonstrably low. That's, in fact, the whole city, that's lower than African-American turnout in most elections because that's 24 to 28. So, again, people could have shown up there to make a statement. The statement that they made was that they want Mamdani. And scarier, Mamdani got more votes in a primary than any other primary candidate in the history of New York, according to reports. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say. So that's in and of itself crazy. I think New York. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm saying some of the things he's proposing, that raising the corporate tax and raising income tax and everything else, he has no power to do that. That's got to be done by the state of New York. I mean, in
fact,
that
the only people who can do that,
a bunch of idiots too.
The only people who can do that is the Assembly, which he is a member of today. Right? So, Mayor Eric Adams has already made that known. It's like the things that he wants to do, he can actually do as a member of the Assembly, which again they won't do.
Right, but can you see? God forbid he wins and imposes. Well, first of all, he's going to get rid of the police, and he's going to have counselors instead. If you get raped or something, they're not going to arrest the guy. They're going to send the guy to counseling. And what I can see, I can visualize now is what a traffic jam on 95.
Yeah, it will be going south.
Carolina,
It's not going
Tennessee,
north.
Florida, and these are going to be people who are financially sound.
Oh yeah. Look, let me say this.
Going to be going.
Let me say this. Look, New York cannot afford its politics, but at the same time, New York can't be bothered with politics. They just don't. It's just the way that it is. The people who are involved, and these turnouts are usually low because other people have other things to do, and they just have no time with standing online. For them, it's like standing online at the DMV. So a guy like de Blasio can win. A guy like Bloomberg can win, even after the success of Rudolph Giuliani. The reason why you've seen the denigration, if you will, or the degrading quality of New York mayors, the reason why you've seen it is because it's always been fewer and fewer turnout, and because people can't afford the time to get to the polling places, or they're disinterested in the process because New York is just too big. That's why it's quite possible Mamdani is going to win. That being said, I kind of agree with the sentiment that it may be due time for somebody like Mamdani to win New York. It may be a necessary evil for every northeastern state and city to see what happens when they go the full socialist communist route. So they can, and again, doing it with the number one city in the country, places like Chicago, Indianapolis, Los Angeles, for that matter, if they see it in real time in the greatest city in the world, if they see that place go straight to hell in a handbasket, it could change the course of politics in the country. So I kind of believe that it could.
Generations to come.
Exactly. It will tell, you know what it'll really tell, Ralph, and I believe this to be true. I think what it'll say to a lot of people is that we can never allow our politics to get into the hands of idealistic children, because those are the people who are voting for him. Ideologues, children right out of college who have disposable incomes, and they can do what's called a protest vote to the system writ large. They don't like Democrats. They don't like Republicans. And they believe in a guy like Mamdani. Yeah, we're going to shake up the system. We're going to give them the what for and let them rue the day. Let them experience exactly the radical and the pushback or the rebellion that they're trying to forge on the rest of us. I think they should live in it. I think they should.
Yeah, but then one of these days, they're going to reap the whirlwind, like they say, for what they did.
Yeah, and ironically, Chuck
what
Schumer
the heck
will
did
be.
I do?
Yeah, Chuck Schumer, ironically, will finally reap the whirlwind he talked about at the Supreme Court. That would be quite ironic.
100% correct, Reese.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Let's go to Stephen Waterbury. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Reese. Hey, I do want to talk about Hydrilla real quick.
Yeah.
But I would have been very happy to see Rob Reiner, if he was a man of his word, to put on a fire suit with flame retardant or whatever and really set himself on fire. I always thought that would have been a pretty cool thing for him to do.
These radicals,
also,
they're funny in the sense of talking about what they're willing to do. I got to give it up to Ellen and to Rosie O'Donnell. At least they kept their word.
Well, they probably were going to do that anyways. They probably still have places here in this country, is my guess. And I think a lot of people are moving because of it's cheaper to live in other countries, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But with Hydrilla, I was looking at Robert Kennedy Jr. there.
Yeah.
And he's going after Roundup. There's a chemical in Roundup that they say is not as bad as the DEQA.
Yeah.
And he's going after that. I think maybe he might be the guy if he can get a hold of and,
That's
get a bug
a
in his ear
very
about
good.
this.
That's a very good point. And I'm assuming that you're suggesting with the addition of Lee Zeldin, who's looking into the DEQA spraying in Connecticut, perhaps we get the attention of Robert Kennedy Jr. as well, since he's going after Roundup. This would be right in that wheelhouse and sort of get him.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And you know what? I'm going to tell, what do you call it? State Republicans who I know listen to the show. We need to get on it.
Yeah, but still keep Ralph Nader in mind, too, if you get a hold of him.
I tried. I left him an email. I did. I sent him an email. There was no telephone number for him, but I did try to contact him. Thank you, boss.
Okay, if I hear of any way of doing it, I'll get a hold of you. Thanks. Bye.
You got it, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, he's right. I think if indeed Robert F. Kennedy is going after Roundup, that would probably be a safe bet because, in essence, he doesn't really have to take his eye off the ball. He can go after, especially if we tell him that the last comprehensive study on DEQA was back 30 years ago. I think that's enough to pique his interest. So we should consider that. Yeah, we should totally consider that. All right, when we come back, wow, last hour coming up. I thought the day was moving slow. Wow. I've got to talk about this story out of the Connecticut Inside Investigator. Have you seen it? I got to give props to my man, Mark in West Hartford. He's made the big leagues. And let me tell you this before we go to break. This is why I love Mark in West Hartford. This guy, for some odd reason, he likes being in the thick of it. If you haven't seen it, I posted it on my Facebook page. Go to reasonoradio.com so you can find the article. West Hartford councilwoman files police report alleging harassment against Mark in West Hartford. You got to read the article. And I'm sure Mark, if he's not doing anything, he'll probably call in the next half hour to talk about it. But you can read about it in that article. Mary Fay, is that her name? Yeah, Mary Fay. He's been going back and forth with this woman on another network. That's why I didn't really talk about it. They were handling it over there, whatever. But it's now come across my desk. And we got to talk about it. We must. Also, some movie news. I got to talk about, we've got the Marvel movie, which Craig hates, and I know I'm going to hear it from him. Fantastic Four: First Steps. This is a big deal for Marvel, so I'll talk about that a little bit in movie news. And also, we've got a contest giveaway coming up as well, so stick around with that.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
We'll get Mark in West Hartford to call in a little bit and talk to him about the article that was written about him today. And every time I even hear about Mary Fay, I want to say Tina Fey. I don't know why, but I just do. I have no idea why. I'm just compelled to say it. I was like, what's Tina Fey doing again? I have no idea why. I just don't. It just happens over and over again. Bob J. has joined us. I think, what did he say? This thing it says, Reese, without historic civil rights protests, you would not be in your seat. Really? Are we really going to go that far? Really? Really? I love that. It's just, sometimes things are just way over the top with the whole civil rights and thing. It just is. Like, I know how to create controversy. All right? But what I really can say wouldn't be controversy. It's really how I feel. But you're not ready for that. No one is. I don't care who you are, where you're from. You're not ready to hear what I really, really think of that movement. You don't want to. So let's just do the wise thing here. Let's just never bring it up. Never. I don't want to have to go down that road. Okay? I could turn the whole argument into Swiss cheese. I just could. And it's easy. And again, I've got no allegiance to anyone, whether you're a white person on the civil rights movement or a black person or in between. I don't care. That's why I try to tell everybody all the time. I'm not this guy who's like, saying stuff just to get a rise out of you. I don't care about the rise out of you. I just believe in laying out the events and the facts as they are. And when people don't like them, that's when they get out of sorts. So this is just one of those things, leave it alone. I'm being honest. You don't want to. A lot of people romanticize that era. They don't get it. They don't. I tell you stories about Rosa Parks no one wants to tell you. I told you a story recently about Jackie Robinson nobody wanted to hear. They hated it. They hated that story. They're so mad at me about revealing that story. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. I've done it. I did the story about it. Jackie Robinson in the Negro League. Oh, you don't want that story. That story breaks everybody's hearts. Everybody's heartbroken by that story. But it's the truth. Sorry. Let's get a check the weather and traffic. Jason Caterina and Mark.
On the radio is getting ready to drop some knowledge on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Robin! We are going to get into dropping some knowledge just so I know. Like, again, this is why I tell people you don't want me on this civil rights stuff. You just don't. So I just want to make sure, okay, that we know what we're talking about here, okay? There is no evidence that I got my seat or anything in my life because of some civil rights movement, okay? All that nonsense, I disprove that every day, okay? So just because we can. There's a little bit that I used to do on my podcast days when I used to call it myths. I had another word for it, but we won't use the term here. Does anybody remember when Al Sharpton was arrested for protesting U.S. bombing on the island of Vieques in Puerto Rico? Does anybody remember that? I sure do. It was back in 2001. And when he was arrested, he gave a jailhouse interview to Fox News. Fox News had only been in the game for a little more than 6 years. Right? Yeah, about that. Yeah, about 5 years. And in that jailhouse interview, Al Sharpton said, and I quote, about Reverend Jesse Jackson, that after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in 1964, that Jesse Jackson had smeared Martin Luther King Jr.'s blood onto his shirt so that when the police arrived, he could tell the story about how he had died, Martin Luther King Jr., in his arms, and also to suggest that he was, in essence, the heir apparent to the civil rights movement of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In essence, he had been anointed by having the blood on his hands. Now, many people dismiss that from Al Sharpton, just saying, oh, he was just trying to surpass Jesse Jackson and smear him. Nonsense. Because Al Sharpton wasn't just telling a tale out of school, he was telling the truth. Because back in 1968, another man who was at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, at the death, that man's name was Andrew Young, who also said the exact same thing about the events that took place on April 4th. That Jesse Jackson had smeared the blood on his shirt when the police had come. And sure enough, Jesse Jackson became the de facto leader of the civil rights movement. You guys know that, right? Yeah, ugly, nasty story. Yeah, I'm just trying to tell you what the deal is. I do this not because I have to be mean. It isn't that. It's just because facts are facts. You may not like them. They may upset you, but I didn't put them out there. You can tell yourself anything you want to. If the myth sounds better than reality, stick with the myth, I say. Or not. You can hear the truth. That's why I don't pay attention to that nonsense. I got no allegiance to anybody. Not trying to. They never come to my aid, and I don't want them to. I don't want to be a member of their club. I'm not trying to be a fan of theirs. I can't keep it real if I do. Just so you know. I got no integrity once you start lying to me. I have a position. I have no allegiance. That's cultism. Now, speaking of somebody who likes to rip and roar and be a muckraker, my very own friend, Mark in West Hartford in the house. Way to make them pay, buddy. Make them sue you. Make them sue you. Make them send you to court. Make them charge you with harassment.
It really is almost, with air quotes, unbelievable. Hey, real quick, though, we got to get a Pastor Mosiah Jarvis on. You know he in Hartford, Al Sharpton showed up, and this mayor called him a pimp inside a church while Al Sharpton was demanding $400 donations. And Al Sharpton said, put up or shut up. He said he was collecting money to put a monument in Hartford to honor those that have died from gun violence. So he yanked that right out of his. Yeah, you got to have this guy. I sent it to you. Back in 2017. But let's talk about what happened to me.
Yes.
And you know what? This is almost like a little bit of a warning. What can happen to those of you who, people go, oh, get involved. You want to get involved and you should get involved. And, well, I do get involved. Mm-hmm. And this started just a few years back. A councilwoman. It goes way back to when I was trying to get an investigation reopened on the 11-year-old student that hung themselves in a school. And Councilwoman Mary Fay befriended me.
Okay.
She promised to visit with Todd Feinberg. She made all these commitments and then dropped the ball. And I called her out for it.
Right.
And she didn't like it. So simply just like she should have just took it and left. I wasn't mean about it. Didn't threaten her. But
or even better yet, how about pick up the ball and pursue what she said she was going to do in the first place?
Oh, it was, they really need to investigate some of the text messages. She goes, you don't know how much at risk I'm putting myself doing stuff behind the scenes and all this. So, and she's not supposed to work behind it. No politician is supposed to work behind the scenes while they're investigating the death of an 11-year-old that committed suicide after being bullied at school.
Yeah, that's insane.
She really put herself out there. So we went back and forth. So not to get lost in the weeds, her angle is I've targeted her.
Right.
Like I'm just a one-trick pony. And I've gone after her. I'm relentless, this and that. In all reality, our last exchange personally, meaning through our text phones.
Right.
Forget all the other stuff that's public. My Twitter account, emails to all the officials in town. Me and her, the last correspondence we had together through our phones was November 26th of 2022.
Wow.
But in her complaint to the police a couple of weeks ago, she put that I literally relentlessly, I contact her relentlessly daily by the minute.
Wow.
And harass her. Now, the detective that called me to tell me she's now put in a second complaint against me, let me know. He can't give me everything. I won't have it till the end of the week. But he did let me know what she accused me of up to that point.
Okay.
And the second time around, so, and again, I know, and I probably am getting lost in the weeds. So I do have had contact with her from WDRC.
Right.
Which I don't even want to call a competitor. They're nothing to you. They really are. It's a nothing station.
Not important. No, let's not focus on that.
No, but I have to because what happens is Mary Fay is a regular guest there, and she
takes calls. They encourage people to call.
But to get to the
But
wait a minute, hold on.
call-
To get to the crux of it, that's what she's calling the harassment. Is that when she's on, you call in to dispute whatever she's talking about to try to hold her accountable, and this is what she's saying is tantamount to harassment. Yes.
Well, yes, but what this last call was a couple of weeks ago was I was trying to point out the hypocrisy of her complaint against their own RTC with the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities that they discriminated against her for sexual orientation.
Right.
In the meantime, you saw the evidence I had.
It's
from
bad.
The log cabin Republicans. She's telling two husbands, take your gay boy glam to the clubs. I've got P words. You're weak. I mean, very homophobic. So while she was on the air, I read her the screenshots and asked her if they were from her phone. I said, they look similar to the way you spoke with me. I said, I had emails from the two husbands to your then campaign manager when she was running for comptroller, asking for their donations back, using the word homophobic statements and how distressed and depressed they were. I had all that.
Right.
And I read it to her on air. Never threatened her, but that was another complaint. Now, the detective at West Hartford Police didn't hear it because he goes, oh, they don't have tapes of their interviews. I go, well, guess what?
I do.
happen to have it. So we played it. Now, here's the thing. What I want everybody to think is like, you've got to, the first time I wasn't smart. The second time I got smarter. I walked into the interview with two detectives with an attorney, and guess who else sat in there? Mark Fitch.
That's right, the reporter.
Unprecedented. It's almost unprecedented to have a reporter sit in on an interview with police on a matter
So
like this.
let's leave it there, Mark, because that's the most important part. Because I want everybody to read the articles. I don't want to take the lead away from Mark Fitch.
Connecticut Inside Investigator. Let's wait till next week when I get the report.
Yes,
and see how many lies she actually told.
But if you want to see it, you got to go to. Hold on, sir, real quick. Just telling everybody, go to ConnecticutInsideInvestigator.org so you can read the article yourself. It's there. And again, the headline, which I want to make sure I read correctly, is West Hartford councilwoman files police report alleging harassment. If you can't find it there, just go to ReeseOnTheRadio.com, go to my Facebook page, and you'll be able to find it on my homepage as well, on the Facebook page, so you can read it and go get through all those details. What was the last thing you wanted to address there?
I just want to say I found some statutes, and then I already said it in the room to the cops. I said, as soon as I get the report, and I think she's already done it, she's broken the law, I'm going to have her arrested. Now, if they act, I'm going to request it. If they don't act upon it, well, then you know what? I might need some help from your audience, because I know you got legal experts that are listening, but I'm going to request that she's arrested. She broke the law.
And if that's the case, well, we'll see whether or not. And that's the beauty of this. I guess the most important part about all of this, folks, and the bottom line is, here's somebody who is taking a politician to task to hold them accountable for what they say they're going to do versus what they actually do. It turns into harassment, and the next thing you know, they're using the weight of the police department to get that person to shut up. So that's why, again, the reason why I even brought this up, Mark, is because
Reese, she went through the chief's office.
Yeah.
How many taxpayers get to do that in their own town when they have an issue?
And that's the important part is that's exactly weaponizing her position to force the police to attack you or to go after you so that they can shut you up.
Me up. How did it work out, Reese?
Yeah. Oh, no. We wouldn't be here if you weren't diligent, my friend. We wouldn't be here.
All right,
so I
thank you, brother.
No problem. I congratulate you, man, and keep doing what you're doing. That's why it's important.
Thank you.
You got it. Let's go to my friend Simsbury Joe. What's going on, sir? Welcome home, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. So, I want to talk about the Mark Mary Faith story because I've seen the things that Mark has posted, and I know the things that Mark has said, and I know that those things are the truth. So here's my concern. My concern, Mark just made a comment about the possibility of maybe going after her and having her arrested. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the town of West Hartford is going to do that.
Right.
Because they're going to protect politicians, and she's LGBT. And the other aspect of it, though, and this is something to sound like a broken record I always talk about, and that is we have to change our rules having to do with sovereign immunity in this state. So if someone makes a decision as a politician on tax policy or environmental policy or something like that, they need to be protected. You can't have people going off and suing them. However, when they go off the reservation and they do what Mary Fay has done, filing false information,
false harassment claims.
WDRC. Yeah, I just know that if Mark tries to go after her after that, she's going to fall back on, well, I'm a politician. I'm kind of protected under this guideline.
Right.
And we've got to do something about that. If anything comes out of this, people need to realize that when she went to the police department directly to the chief, and when she has said false things, and anyone who follows Mark on X can see the false things. Anyone who heard the WDRC thing knows that there's false things. The best thing she could do right now, and I hope she's listening, is she should just go to the police, say, I'm dropping this, and I'm getting out of politics. I'm not going to participate in politics at all. Because what she's doing, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the words, her accusations are so false, and the whole thing about the LGBT thing within the Republican town committee is just so out there that it's time for her to step aside. She's got some issues.
This
is not just a fight between two people. She's got some issues.
It
appears she needs to address them and go away.
I know. It appears, especially with the video that was sort of like a sort of a sparking point, with the the screaming and hollering and all of the stuff that where she was caught on tape doing that really started the rift, like the huge rift between the two of them. There is a little bit of like unhinged behavior in all of that. And I think you're right. Maybe it would be best for her, Mary Fay, to just say, you know what, I'm dropping this and I'm stepping away from politics. Let me go, deal with some other personal issues, whatever the case may be, come back at a later date when it's, when it's safer and, she's dealt with whatever that thing is that is causing this outrage. She just needs to be better prepared for that. But you're 100% right. This has gone way beyond the pale.
Live your best life, Barry.
Yeah.
Go live your best life. And I would advise Mark as a friend that if she were to do that and say, okay, I'm just dropping this. I'm going away. I'm out of politics right now. Let her go.
Yeah. 100% right. Thank you, boss. Let me get to another break. Let's get to weather and traffic. And, of course, we got bottom of the hour news with John Silver. Jason Katarina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, sir.
All right, Reese, thank you very much. If you're heading on
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
Yeah.
I still don't know what had happened was.
That's what had happened was. Brought to you by the Odyssey app. While you were at work, you're on your way driving home, asking yourself, hey, Reese, what had happened was. I will tell you. What had happened was real simple. Our opening monologue was talking about how Connecticut has this divide about whether or not Zohran Mamdani, the candidate for mayor in New York, is going to have a positive or negative effect on politics in Connecticut. I told you it was going to be a huge contentious issue within politics in the state, and of course it has been. And now with Representative Josh Elliott, who is running against Governor Lamont, if he should run or seek re-election, it is going to be a great divide within the Democrat Party. Many people are viewing Lamont as a right-wing conservative. Or conservative. Somebody said, what was it? Oh, gosh, I can't remember the quote about Lamont being a conservative. Lamont is a conservative as much as Caitlyn Jenner is a woman. But still, it is the divide that's happening within the Democrat Party, which, by the way, incidentally, I mentioned that thing about the Epstein thing, like why people are focused on it, because it's dividing MAGA Republicans. That's why they're salivating about the divide in the Jeffrey Epstein thing, because of the divide that's happening within their own party with communists, Marxists, socialists, and what many consider the moderate party. The difference is, and again, don't let anybody fool you. There's no such thing as a moderate Democrat. It's about as silly as somebody saying they're a New York Republican. They don't exist. They're unicorns. I know some people say it's like, oh, that's not true. No, there's no such thing. The Democrat Party is never going to be what it was at all. Ask your country ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Find me the Democrat who believes that. Their entire stance is about how government can improve your life. Even their savior, their messiah, Barack Obama. Remember during the whole Affordable Care Act, what did they have? The Life of Julia was that web series that talks about this woman going through life from cradle to grave and how the government can assist her through life. That's the Democrat Party. That's socialism. That's it. There's no divide. There's no such thing. Democrats, socialism, one and the same. That's all. So they're trying to take advantage of both. Jeffrey Epstein has split them while they have their own split going on in their party. So that's what had happened was.
You know who it is.
It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, that's it. We're about to get up out of here, about to make it all, I don't know, an end. And, of course, your phone calls coming in. We'll get to those shortly. I want to thank all of you who have joined in the chat room, especially the haters. I've never really understood the whole. I'm just maybe I don't. The Uncle Tom thing. I just think, do people really still think that works? Like with the overwhelming amount of information that we have. Can you believe that? If those of you who know that it's still used. You're an Uncle Tom. Really? I can't help but sit back and laugh. I'm just like, what? Work harder. Let's get to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Good, thank you, and happy National Hot Dog Day to you.
Well, you know what? I'm not allowed to eat them anymore, but man, when I was a big chili dog fan back in the early, mid-2000s.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I miss those days.
Someday it was funny you were talking about Mondavi and all that stuff, and you go back way, way back to John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
And, I wanted to say, have you read anything about Roosevelt and Truman? Because they would be light in step with a lot of what Mondavi has been talking about, the ideas and stuff, when they consider themselves to be progressives. But that's for another day. I wanted to talk about telling people, elected officials, to just quit. Like Mary Fay. I don't know Mary Fay from anything. I've heard the rantings and ravings back and forth a little.
I don't think anybody told her to. Tim, let me stop you because I get what you're saying or getting at. But the Mary Fay thing, there's a bunch of evidence that says or suggests that being questioned about her role as a public servant has drawn her to the point where criticism has led her to filing charges against. Now, again,
know,
and if you read, hold on, I want to go one step further. Have you read Mark Fitch's article yet?
Yes, I have.
Okay, good.
And I've also heard Mark Walsh on dozens of stations go on and on.
But what's the crux? What's the crux of Mark Fitch's piece, and why is that so important here?
Yeah, so basically, again, it people need to step back and not be, this one man, one woman, attack thing against politicians. I have nothing. I don't know, her politics really that well. A gay Republican seems kind of contrarian to me, but when I hear Mark get on the radio, and Joe from Simsbury, all these guys as somebody.
Wait. First, hold on. Now, first of all, you're about to contradict yourself.
God.
Wait. You're about to contradict yourself, and I'm stopping you Because in one breath, you're saying that it's not right for Joan Simsbury, suggest for her to get out of politics, but then you're calling about the fact that they said it at all, right? You have a problem with them saying something by saying that you have a problem with them saying something. They have a right to.
Well, I mean, just take their own, thing. They are, they are both that attacked me on, printed on things, all sorts of crazy things. They keep, this thing about me being from Wallingford on. It's been going on for years. All of these guys need to.
Yeah, but if it isn't true, why do you care?
If you don't like somebody, if you don't, what?
If it isn't true, why care? Like, hold on. Your reputation. Wait. Listen.
Tell me, boyfriend.
Your reputation doesn't hinge on the criticisms about you, right? You do understand that, right? It's like, sure, people are going to say things about you. People are going to say things like you're not really from Hamden. But the truth, the truth outweighs that. If you are giving weight to the criticism as opposed to what is factual, then the facts don't mean anything anymore. You see what I'm saying?
And if you get on a 50,000 watt flamethrower at numerous other stations and say XYZ candidate is a lunatic, crazy and stuff, like
Who
Mary
said that?
Fay had stuff, and she's trying to run for statewide office. Yeah,
but who called her a lunatic?
I don't know.
No one here called her a lunatic. Don't cast. Listen, do not accuse anybody of calling somebody something that did not happen. Because you saying that. Hold on. You saying that you saying that someone called her a lunatic then prompts someone to start looking for where they called her a lunatic. That never happened, and you know that to be true. So don't.
You know the fact for the fact he's like a dog with a bone.
But he has a right to be. But no. Again, your problem is with his constitutional right to hold a public official accountable. And again,
it's not his constitutional.
Why isn't it?
It's
why isn't it? Why isn't it?
Be somebody
why isn't it?
That's being level-headed.
Why isn't it? She's an elected official. Her role is to serve him, not the other way around. And then hold on. Worst off, and Tim, the fact that you can't see this, worst off is that he's holding her to account, right? They had a cordial introduction to each other that was about a very important issue and about an 11-year-old girl taking her own life because she was bullied. That is a noble cause for the both of them to be a part of. She literally left Mark hanging on the issue, which then he called her out about it and said, wait a minute, I thought you were on board with this thing. You're now no longer addressing it.
What is she supposed to say about 11-year-old?
What she's supposed to say is, wait. I'll tell you. She is supposed to say, I'm sorry, Mark, I shouldn't have gotten ahead of my skis on an issue that I probably couldn't help with, and left it at that. He would have moved on. But instead, they turned it into
to the principal, not talking to the principal or others who are more directly involved is one thing and stuff. But it's like, you don't do something for me, and I'm going to give my revenge against you forever.
You seem to be
get my revenge against you.
Tim, you seem to be taking the side of the person that you know nothing about because you have an opposition to Mark in West Hartford. What I'm trying to suggest to you here is, right, instead of just get out of your own way, what I'm suggesting to you here is Mark has done nothing wrong. He held her to account. Was he dogged about it? Yes, he was. But he didn't break
Was he obsessive about it is the argument.
Hold on. Even if he was, it was an important issue that he wanted to address because a little girl lost her life and people ignored it. And he wanted people to give attention to it.
People didn't ignore it?
May I finish, please?
That's crazy.
May I finish? They did ignore it. And why do I know that? Because I was here talking about it with him, and it was ignored. And you know plenty of stories like that get ignored here. And Mark, although it may have been personal, he just wanted people to address it, to get to the bottom of it so it doesn't happen again, and they were dismissive of him, as was Mary Fay. And the point is that for him going after it and him going after her for making promises she couldn't keep, to have that only turn into him being accused of harassment shows exactly the lengths people are willing to go instead of saying, look, I'm sorry, Mark. I apologize that I let you down or that I didn't hold up my end of the bargain to move on.
But Mark also needs to be able to say, you can only do so much. I'm going to let you off the hook after about the
Not when you escalated to having him charged with harassment.
So people want to personally involve this.
So you're okay with her? Wait. So you're okay with a public official who's being held to account using that information as a means as a cudgel to shut him up by having him charged with harassment. You're okay with that?
I don't know. So we've got a president who does that every single day.
Oh, wow. I love love the deflection, which means that you agree with me. Which means you agree with me.
You know what? President who's threatening people like crazy.
Tim,
he's not even going to release the Epstein file.
Tim,
it's crazy. He's going to do all that stuff.
If your answer is,
by the way, that's a bipartisan scandal. By the way, that's not
Tim,
a Republican.
Yeah, Democrat. I still don't care. Tim, if your answer,
I know you don't care because it's all over your orange man.
Okay, thank you. Tim. I appreciate it. I've given you enough time. But if we can talk we're talking about Mary Fay, and for some odd reason it ends up being Trump's fault, what am I going to do with that? What can I possibly do with that? It's like I always feel like, we have this saying that when you get backed into a corner, right? The person is like to get out of it, they start swinging the windmills, That's what that was. You're losing the argument, so just like, make it about Trump. Come on, man. Come on. You're better than that. Let's go to somebody new. Francis, how are you?
I am doing well, Reese. Want to kind of go back to the last hour. 2 quick points on our socialist running in New York City. He gets elected or comes close. Huge impact on the financials business in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to have a huge impact on Fairfield County.
Yep.
Which produces a huge amount of our tax revenue for the state of Connecticut.
That's correct.
This guy getting elected in New York City is a disaster for Connecticut.
You know what? I don't know if you remember this, Francis, but when after Mondami won the primary, I said that towns like Stafford, where a lot of people work, Greenwich, all those areas who, they commute, Danbury even, out of Danbury into the Metro North, going back to New York City. There are so many people that are going to be affected because they make their living in New York.
Oh, and it's also in New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, good point.
This would be devastating, and I don't think a lot of people understand. There's a view that the markets, as Wall Street as we think of it,
mm-hmm.
has to be in New York.
That's right.
Miami, actually, you might see a much greater movement to Miami because it's still easily, with the technology.
Francis, you're so anywhere. You know what? Literally, talk about stealing the thought out of my head. Earlier this morning, I was saying to myself, if New York is no longer like the capital of industry, if this guy really has his way and he does as much damage as many people are predicting, or in some cases hopeful for, you're right. The stock market could. I was waiting to myself. I was saying, where would the stock market move if that were to happen? I forgot about Miami.
And it's our gateway to Latin America.
That's true. That's such a good point.
We do a lot of business south. The elites tend to think of Europe,
mm-hmm.
but historically, South Latin America has been where financially. In terms of trade, a huge partner.
Do you really think that? Do you think that could be like the new financial hub? Like that could be like the city?
It makes a lot of sense because it's on the East Coast with modern technology and flights easily reachable from Europe. Easy flight.
Before I go, Francis, say the last thing because I want to say something about what you just said.
And the second thing was on the Daiquat.
Oh, okay.
Which reminds me of back in Vietnam. We have to save the village by burning the village to the ground. Well, there's no village left. This is that level of thinking.
Yeah, I agree. Back to the Miami thing. I want to tell you this. This is crazy. Back in 1990, I want to say, maybe even 89, I'd gone to Florida for the first time. We drove all the way down there. And we had to drive all the way to Miami. And we get there. And the first description of Miami I got when I moved there, I was like, hey, what's Miami like? And you know what they said? They said it's like New York with palm trees. So interesting that you say that. I always thought that was crazy. Hey, Francis, can I do something nice for you?
Sure.
You got it. How about if I give you an opportunity to go to the GOAT Tacos, Tequila, and Taps Fest at Duncan Park on the 25th? Would you like that?
Oh, sure. I'm always up for good food.
All right, no doubt. Hey, and you know what? I'm putting you on hold. We will give that prize to him. 100 beverage ban, live music, and live cooking demonstrations, fun activities, and much, much more. Francis, your tickets are for Friday night on the 25th at 5 p.m., which include several food samples and multiple beverage samples. And, of course, you must be 21 or older. It is the Goat Tacos Tequila Taps Fest at Duncan Park, brought to you by the Hartford Yard Goats and 360 Marketing and Events. Folks, it's time for me to get up out of here. It has been a blast, and it always is. We got plenty of stuff. Every time I was like, you know what, do we have any more news to cover? And there's always news to cover. So I look forward to that. I look forward to it every day. Tomorrow, I don't think I have anything on deck. So it'll be a surprise to us all. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here next time. John Silva's got news. Jason Caterina's got your weather. You got some rain coming, too. And Mark Christopher will tell you how to navigate through it in the BPS Traffic Center. Good night, Mark. See you mañana.
I'm going to Miami.
There you go.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking the same thing. If this guy gets elected, how much big business is going to leave New York City? I was thinking about that last night. Me and a buddy of mine were having that
Isn't that wild? Like,
conversation.
everybody is thinking about this.
I know. Think about it. That would be,
it's insane.
That would be wild.
Yeah.
That would be sad, too. Hey, if you're heading into Hartford right now on the southbound side of I-90.
All right.
Okay,
so. Traffic report being brought
you got my,
in Manchester.
between rounds winner I sent to
33
you.
down to 32 A and B.
Yeah, yeah.
Accident 95.
You usually put a target.
You
didn't put a target on it. So.
Oh, my bad.
That's okay.
On the Cromwell
I just making sure
Middletown line, and that
all right,
just
buddy.
cleared,
Manana. We
as
got
I
the
said
Wednesday
it,
with
so
no
that
problem.
accident southbound between cleared all
Thursday, Friday.
delays
all
are
right,
back
see
to
you
25
manana.
S and N.
See ya.
And Weathersfield behind that. North Bend 91 looking good. Cromwell through downtown. A little slow. Up bikes at 36 in Windsor. Westbound 84 slows 56 Governor Street out to 46 Sisson Avenue. 84 eastbound slows 46 into the tunnel. A little slow again out by 59 into 384 interchange. If you're heading into Middletown right now, 9 northbound slows.
There we go. Sorry about that. AG, you definitely should avoid the number one story in the country because it's uncomfortable for you to. Are you late? You missed that whole thing I did on Epstein? Oh, you did. No, that's right. You did arrive late. Well, go back and watch the show at about 3:30. But that's okay. I mean, look, not everybody sits around for the whole program. It's 4 hours, So, I'm glad that you did tune in. It's a pleasure. All right, be good. Stay out of trouble. Edith says, I can't stand Tim, and I love it how you set him straight. Thank you, Edith. I appreciate you. Donald says you're not an Uncle Tom. You're just Well, I'm sorry. I'd rather be an Uncle Tom than brainwashed. Nah, call me an Uncle Tom. If that's the case, if I got a choice between being an Uncle Tom and brainwashed, I'm going with Uncle Tom. Hell yeah. Absolutely, I'm going with Uncle Tom. Now that you mention it, let me play this bit. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. I'll play this. This one. You'll love this. This is my favorite. Where is this? Oh, I can't find it now. Actually, yes, I can. Let me see if I can find it. You'll love this. This is one of my favorite bits. I think I sent this to you. Do I not have it? Oh, I just sent the link. Yeah, I did. I sent the link, but I didn't. There it is. Here it is. Listen. You should hear this.
Or when it fits, do you know who Uncle Tom really was? Sure. He was that dumb nigga used to thank Simon Legree for whipping him. Wrong. That's another one of those lies about our people that has been accepted as truth. Who was he then? Superfly in disguise? No, George. In real life, Uncle Tom was a slave named Josiah Henson, who escaped and walked all the way from Kentucky to Canada with his wife and children. And there he started the first manual training school for our people. How you knew that? I read. Sometimes I listen. You could do the same thing. Huh? You heard of the Underground Railroad? Sure. Well, Josiah Henson helped 100 slaves escape up north even before there was an underground railroad. He was a brave man, a great leader. And I'll tell you something else, George. I'd never call you an Uncle Tom.
Always love that. But seriously, you're a 21st century opportunist clickbait on the radio. Well, okay. I guess so. That's funny because I don't do a whole bunch of TikToks and all that other stuff. So, all right. I mean, like I said, the opinions of others will never, ever be who I am. I get to decide who I am regardless of the criticisms. But, AG, nonetheless, you're here. I'm glad you are. Maybe you'll appreciate it. Maybe you won't. But you know what? All are welcome. And I'm glad, again, from the bottom of my heart, you tune in. Maybe you learned something. Maybe maybe it'll make you think. But that's all I care about. I don't need you to agree. I need you to think. And if I could do that, I'm doing my job. Y'all be good to each other. Remember, stay good to each other.